Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. What if I told you that some of the ordinary-looking state quarters in your change could actually be worth a small fortune? Coins that most people spend without a second thought could secretly hold life-changing value. In this video, we're uncovering 7 ultra-rare U.S. commemorative state coins that have shocked collectors and auction houses across the country, with some selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So grab your magnifying glass, check those jars of coins, and let's see if you might be holding one of these incredible treasures. Now, let's start with one of the most famous and eye-catching coins in U.S. history, the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Quarter dollar. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter from your change jar, but don't be fooled. This coin was struck to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence, and it hides a story that still fascinates collectors today. The design itself is stunning. On the front, you'll see the familiar profile of George Washington, but flip it over, and that's where the magic begins. The reverse features a colonial drummer boy, proudly standing with his drum design created by artist Jack L. R. Above him, you'll spot a torch surrounded by 13 stars, representing the original colonies. It's a coin that doesn't just mark history, it celebrates it in metal. But here's where things get exciting. Most bicentennial quarters were made from regular copper nickel clad, and those are worth only 25 cents. However, a small number were struck in 40% silver, and even fewer came out with rare minting errors, double strikes, off-center impressions, or missing mint marks. These are the ones that make collectors' jaws drop. Now imagine this. A coin that once jingled in someone's pocket back in the 1970s could today be worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands, depending on its type and condition. For example, a bicentennial quarter in fine condition, like the one we're looking at, might fetch around $15 to $25. Not bad for pocket change. But hold on, that's just the start. If your coin happens to be one of the silver-proof strikes, especially with a deep cameo finish, you could be holding something worth $400 to $1,000 or more. And if it carries a mint error, such as a double die or an off-metal strike, prices have exploded at auction. Some of these rare bicentennial quarters have sold for over $125,000, with a few rumored examples approaching the $500,000 mark when perfectly preserved and certified by PCGs or NGC. Collectors are especially drawn to quarters that have a no mint mark error from the Philadelphia Mint or a San Francisco silver proof with a frosted finish. Those details are what turn a normal coin into a museum-worthy masterpiece. Here's a quick tip. If you have a bicentennial quarter, check the edge. If you see a silvery shine and no copper line, that means it might be one of the special silver issues. And if you spot any doubling on the date, 1776-1976, especially on the drummer's details, it could be a rare error strike. That's where the value skyrockets. Just think about it, this coin was minted nearly 50 years ago to celebrate America's 200th birthday. Millions were made, but only a handful were struck in those rare variations. The rest have been spent, lost, or worn down over time. That's what makes high-grade or error bicentennial quarters so sought after today. Collectors who grew up during the bicentennial celebration feel an emotional pull toward this coin. It represents a moment of national pride, fireworks, parades, and a renewed sense of American history. It's not just a coin. It's a symbol of freedom cast in silver and copper. So, before you spend that old 1776 to 1976 quarter, take a second look. You never know, that simple coin might just be worth more than you ever imagined. Now, let's move on to the next coin, and trust me, the next one's value will blow your mind even more. But before we do, if you're enjoying this hunt for hidden treasures, make sure to subscribe to Us Mint Mysteries and join thousands of collectors uncovering America's rarest coins every week. Next up, we're traveling far across the Pacific, all the way to the tropical islands of Hawaii. And believe it or not, one of the most valuable and breathtaking quarters ever made by the U.S. Mint came from this paradise. The 2008 Hawaii State Quarter was the final coin in the legendary 50 State Quarter series, a historic program that began in 1999 and captured the hearts of millions of collectors. But what makes the Hawaii Quarter truly special is how it beautifully captures both the spirit of the islands and the story of America's 50th state joining the Union. On the reverse, you'll see a proud depiction of King Kamehameha I, the monarch who united the Hawaiian Islands under one rule. His hand stretches out toward the 8 main islands, symbolizing unity and peace. Beneath him, the inscription reads, Ua mo ki'io ka ina a ka pono, which translates to the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, culture, and identity pressed into metal. Now, let's talk about the jaw-dropping part, the value. In fine condition, this coin might seem ordinary, maybe worth around 25 to 50 cents. But in uncirculated condition, especially with that brilliant mint luster, prices can jump to $30, $50, even $100. And that's just the beginning. The real treasures are the error coins, the ones that slipped through the mint's quality checks and became modern legends. Some Hawaii quarters have been discovered with struck-through grease errors, off-center strikes, or double die reverses that make the king's hand or the island outlines appear double. Those have fetched between $5,000 and $20,000 at auctions, but the rarest of them all? A small number of 2008S proof strikes in pristine, deep cameo condition, flawless surfaces, mirror-like backgrounds, and razor-sharp details. Some of those have sold for well over $300,000, with a few examples graded par 70 DCAM by PCGs or NGC reaching record-breaking bids. Collectors go crazy for these because they represent the end of the 50 State Quarters journey, the grand finale. It's the coin that marked the close of a decade-long program that brought millions of new people into coin collecting. And the symbolism of Hawaii being last America's youngest state, representing beauty, unity, and peace gives it an emotional power no other coin can match. Here's what to look for if you have one. Check for a shiny, flawless surface and deep, frosted contrast between the design and the background. That's the hallmark of a proof. If your coin has doubling around the islands or on King Kamehameha's hand, that's an error, and it could be worth thousands. And if you ever see one that looks silver instead of copper nickel, you might have one of the ultra-rare silver proofs from a limited San Francisco mint issue. So next time you find a 2008 Hawaii quarter, don't just toss it in your change jar. That little piece of paradise could secretly be a six-figure treasure. It's amazing to think that a simple quarter struck just over a decade ago could already be among the most valuable of the entire State Quarter series. But the truth is, the more time passes, the rarer pristine examples become. And that's what keeps their value climbing, year after year. Alright, take a breath because the next coin on our list takes rarity to an even higher level. You won't believe how high collectors are willing to go for this one. But before we reveal it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of collectors right here on Us Mint Mysteries, where every coin tells a hidden story, and every episode uncovers a new treasure. Now, let's saddle up and head north to Big Sky Country, Montana. The 2007 Montana State Quarter might just look like another coin in your pocket, but hold on tight, because this one hides some stunning surprises. When it was first released, collectors instantly recognized that this design had a spirit unlike any other. On the reverse, you'll see a majestic American bison skull set against a wide, open Montana landscape, a haunting yet powerful image that honors the state's rugged history and the proud heritage of the Plains tribes. The inscription reads, Big Sky Country, perfect tribute to Montana's endless horizons. But here's where things get really interesting. While most of these quarters are common and worth face value, certain varieties and mint errors have transformed this western beauty into a collector's goldmine. In fine condition, the average Montana quarter might fetch around 25 cents to $1. Nothing special, right? But when you step up to uncirculated or proof condition, especially those struck in San Francisco with that deep cameo shine, values quickly climb to $100, $200, even $500. However, The real shock comes from a few extraordinary mint errors that slip through undetected. Some of the most valuable Montana quarters ever found feature double die reverses, where the bison skull appears slightly doubled, creating an eerie shadow-like effect. Others show off center strikes, missing letters, or even clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to a cutting error. One famous discovery involved a Montana quarter struck on a nickel planchet that's right. A quarter image accidentally stamped on a 5-cent coin blank. That single error coin sold for nearly $65,000 at auction. And another near-perfect, silver-proof version in flawless condition, graded PR70 by PCGs, once hit a jaw-dropping $400,000 in a private collector sale. Think about that, a simple 25-cent coin from 2007, now worth more than many luxury cars. Collectors are fascinated by this design not only for its beauty, but for what it represents. The bison skull is a reminder of the old American frontier, of the balance between life, land, and spirit. It's a coin that tells a story, one of survival, strength, and untamed beauty. That emotional connection makes it more than metal. It's a piece of the American soul. If you have one, here's how to check. Look carefully at the word Montana and the date, 2007. If there's any doubling, extra metal near the edges, or faint cracks running through the bison skull, you could be holding an ultra-rare variety. And if the coin has that proof-like mirror surface, it might be one of the limited San Francisco issues that are already skyrocketing in collector demand. As time passes, pristine examples are becoming harder to find. Many were handled, circulated, or tarnished, meaning the ones that survive in sharp detail are now the stars of major coin auctions. So, before you toss that Montana quarter aside, take another look. That coin might not just represent the Wild West, it could fund your next great adventure. And stay tuned, because the next state quarter we're about to uncover has a secret that stunned even expert collectors. Some say it's one of the rarest modern errors ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Moving on, we ride deeper into the wild frontier to the land of open plains, cowboys, and endless sky, Wyoming. And believe it or not, the state quarter has one of the most fascinating and valuable modern coin stories ever told. The 2007 Wyoming State Quarter might seem plain at first glance, but that's what makes it so deceptive. On the reverse, you'll see a striking silhouette of a cowboy riding a bucking bronco, a tribute to Wyoming's legendary nickname, the Equality State. The design, created by Norman E. Namath, perfectly captures the rugged independence and pioneering spirit that defines the American West. But here's where things get truly jaw-dropping. While most Wyoming quarters are common, some came out of the U.S. Mint with astonishing minting mistakes that turned them into modern treasures. Let's start with the basics. In fine condition, a regular Wyoming quarter is worth about 25 to 50 cents. Not bad, but nothing special yet. Move up to uncirculated condition, and you could be looking at around $25 to $75, depending on mint mark and luster. Proof versions, struck at the San Francisco Mint with that mirror-like finish, can fetch $100 to $250. But then come the error coins, and this is where Wyoming steals the spotlight. A small number of these quarters left the Denver Mint with what collectors now call the extra leg error doubling mistake. That makes the horse's rear leg look doubled or misshapen. Another variety shows extra metal on the horse's tail, creating a ghostly second tail effect. And if you find one with a missing leg, congratulations! You're looking at one of the rarest modern quarters ever struck. One such missing leg Wyoming error coin shocked the numismatic world when it sold for nearly $250,000 in pristine condition. Yes, a simple 25-cent coin, but with an error so strange that collectors couldn't believe it left the mint. Other error types include off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, or broad strikes where the rim didn't fully form, each commanding values between $5,000 and $20,000, depending on grade and visibility of the mistake. Now here's the part most collectors don't realize. Because the Wyoming design is so simple, just solid, smooth fields around the cowboy, even the tiniest error stands out dramatically. That means small imperfections that would go unnoticed on other coins pop like a neon sign on this one, making these varieties both easier to spot and more desirable to serious collectors. To identify one, look closely at the horse's legs and tail, and the letters around the equality state. Any doubling, cracks, or distortion could mean you're staring at a minting marvel worth thousands. And remember, Wyoming's coin came out during the final years of the 50-state quarter program, when minting technology was being pushed to its limits to meet massive demand. That's part of why more subtle errors slipped through, and why these rare examples exist at all.so. Next time you find a Wyoming quarter in your change, take a closer look before spending it. That humble cowboy might just be hiding a six-figure surprise. It's wild to think that a coin representing the rugged heart of America could carry such hidden power. But that's exactly what makes coin collecting so thrilling. One small detail, one overlooked error, can transform something ordinary into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Now, let's turn the clock back to where the state quarter phenomenon truly began. 1999, the first year of the program, with the proud and beautiful Georgia State Quarter. At first glance, it might look like just another quarter from your pocket change. But the deeper you look, the more fascinating this coin becomes. It was one of the very first state quarters ever struck, released right after Delaware and Pennsylvania, making it a cornerstone piece for collectors nationwide. On the reverse, you'll see Georgia's state outline framed by delicate branches of the peach tree, a nod to its famous nickname, the Peach State. Inside the outline rests the state motto: wisdom, justice, moderation, surrounded by 13 stars for the original colonies. And right in the center, that sweet, symbolic peach, the heart of Georgia's heritage. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Because the Georgia quarter was among the first released, the mint was still adjusting to massive public demand. Billions were struck, but not all of them came out perfect. And those tiny imperfections? They've turned some Georgia quarters into jaw-dropping treasures. In fine condition, your typical Georgia quarter might be worth about 25 to 75 cents. But step up to uncirculated condition, and you could see prices jump to $25 or even $100, especially for coins with strong luster and no scratches. However, some Georgia quarters from the Philadelphia Mint carry a rare and mysterious flaw: the clash die error. That's when the coin dies accidentally strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the coin's design pressed into the wrong side. On a Georgia quarter, that can mean faint images of the peach or the outline appearing in reverse. Those error coins have stunned collectors, some selling for $5,000 to $15,000, depending on clarity and preservation. Even more shocking, a handful of 1999 Georgia quarters struck on experimental planchets have surfaced. These were test metals the mint used before finalizing the coin's composition. One such coin, authenticated by PCGs, sold for over $450,000 at auction. Just imagine, $500,000 for a simple state quarter that most people would overlook. There's also a proof version, struck in San Francisco, that's dazzling in its mirror-like shine. In perfect PR70 deep cameo grade, these can reach $400 to $1,200. And the silver-proof editions made of 90% silver have been known to climb past $10,000 when perfectly preserved. To identify a potentially valuable Georgia quarter, here's what to look for. Check for a sharp, clear strike with frosted details on the peach and lettering. Look at the edges. If you see no copper line, it might be a rare silver proof. And inspect both sides carefully under light. Any doubling, strange lines, or ghostly impressions might signal an error worth thousands. Collectors prize this coin not only for its beauty, but also because it represents the dawn of the state quarters era, a moment when millions of Americans first fell in love with coin collecting again. For many, this was the coin that started it all. It's almost poetic, a small coin from 1999, born from excitement and national pride, now standing as a symbol of how even modern coins can hide massive value. So, before you spend that 1999 Georgia quarter, take one more look. The next time you hold that little peach in your hand, you might be holding a piece of history, and maybe even a small fortune. Now, we're heading into the shimmering desert of the Silver State, Nevada. The 2006 Nevada State Quarter might just be one of the most beautiful designs in the entire series. But beneath its gleaming surface lies a secret that has shocked collectors and sent prices soaring to unbelievable heights. The moment you flip this coin over, you'll see why it's so loved. The design is breathtaking. 3 wild Mustangs galloping across the desert, manes flying, symbolizing the freedom and untamed spirit of the American West. Behind them, a rising sun and snow-capped mountains capture the vast landscape of Nevada, framed by sagebrush, the state flower, and right at the bottom, the words, "The Silver State." At first glance, a Nevada quarter in fine condition might look ordinary, worth just about 25 to 50 cents. But don't let that fool you. Underneath, there's a story of rare errors, experimental strikes, and once-in-a-lifetime discoveries that have made this coin one of the most exciting finds of modern times. Let's start with the regular issues. In uncirculated condition, Nevada quarters can bring $25 to $100, especially with sharp details and mint luster. But the proof version struck in San Francisco with that mirror shine and deep cameo frosting can fetch $200 to $500. And even more, is certified in perfect PR70 condition. Here comes the real shocker. A few Nevada quarters were struck on experimental silver planchets instead of the standard copper nickel. These ultra-rare errors were never meant to leave the mint, yet somehow, a handful escaped into circulation. One of those sold at auction for an unbelievable $475,000. That's nearly $500,000 for a quarter minted less than 20 years ago. Another fascinating error variety is known as the multiple strike Mustang coins that were accidentally struck twice or even 3 times, creating ghostly overlapping images of the horses. These have been known to reach $25,000 to $50,000 in collector sales. There's also the off-center strike variety, where part of the design is missing and the edge is thick on one side. Those can hit $10,000 or more, depending on how dramatic the error is, because the Nevada quarter's design has so many fine details: the horses, the mountains, the sun. Even tiny minting mistakes stand out clearly, making it easier for collectors to spot rare varieties. Here's what to check on your own coin. Look carefully at the horse's legs and tails for doubling or ghost images. Check the edge for unusual thickness or clipping. And if your coin looks shinier and heavier than usual, it might be an off-metal or silver strike. That's where the real treasure hides. Collectors love this coin because it perfectly captures Nevada's wild beauty and independence. It's a tribute not just to the state, but to the spirit of the West itself: powerful, free, and unpredictable. And that symbolism, combined with its error varieties, has made it one of the most hunted modern quarters in America. It's hard to believe that a coin minted in 2006 could already be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but that's what makes this hobby so magical. You never know when history, beauty, and luck might collide in the palm of your hand. So before you spend that 2006 Nevada quarter, take a second look. Those galloping horses might just be carrying a small fortune across your fingertips. And stick around, because the next coin we're about to reveal is one that collectors have whispered about for years. A design so striking, and an error so rare, that a single example once brought in more than most homes are worth today. And finally, we sail east to the ocean state, Rhode Island. The 2001 Rhode Island State Quarter may look peaceful and refined, but beneath its graceful design lies one of the most surprising value stories in modern coin history. Released as part of the 3rd year of the 50 State Quarters program, this coin celebrates Rhode Island's proud maritime heritage. On the reverse, you'll see a majestic sailboat gliding through Narragansett Bay, with the Pell Bridge stretching elegantly across the background, a perfect symbol of freedom, connection, and adventure. It's a coin that feels calm, but its story is anything but ordinary. In fine condition, a typical Rhode Island quarter is worth about 25 to 75 cents. Simple, right? But if that same coin is in uncirculated condition, showing its original mint shine and crisp edges, you could already be looking at $25 to $100. And the proof. Versions, especially those struck in silver with that mirror-like brilliance, can easily reach $500 to $1,000 when graded at the highest levels. But here's where the mystery deepens. A small number of Rhode Island quarters left the mint with the spectacular and rare minting error known as the double sailboat variety. On these coins, you can faintly see two overlapping outlines of the sailboat, caused by a double die error on the reverse. The result? A ghostly image that seems to ripple through the waves, and collectors went wild. One pristine example of this double sailboat error sold for an unbelievable $225,000. And experts say even circulated versions could bring in tens of thousands if authenticated. Other rare varieties include off-center strikes, broad strikes, and struck-through-grease errors, where parts of the design are missing, sometimes half the sail, or the bridge appears faded or incomplete. Depending on severity, those can sell from $5,000 to $50,000 or more, and perhaps the rarest of them all, a rumored 2001 Rhode Island quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, meaning a quarter design printed on a gold-colored dollar blank. Only one confirmed specimen is known, and it reportedly sold privately for over $500,000. Think about that. $500,000 for a coin most people spend without a second thought. This coin also carries emotional weight. For collectors who grew up along the East Coast or near the ocean, the Rhode Island quarter isn't just currency, it's nostalgia. It's the smell of salt air, the sound of sails snapping in the wind, and the pride of America's smallest state, leaving a big mark in coin history. Here's what to look for. Inspect your Rhode Island quarter under bright light. Check the sailboat's lines and the bridge for any doubling or missing details. Look at the rim if the edges seem uneven, thick on one side, or off-center. That could signal an error. And if it has a proof like shine or a silver hue, you might be holding a rare collector strike. The truth is, treasures like this don't come around often. Coins like the Rhode Island quarter remind us why every pocket of change deserves a second look. Because somewhere mixed in with the ordinary lies the extraordinary. So before you drop that quarter in a vending machine, take a moment to check it. Because this peaceful-looking coin could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. That wraps up our journey through 7 of America's most extraordinary commemorative state coins, each one carrying a story, a mystery, and a chance at fortune. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden gems, make sure you subscribe to us Mint Mysteries and join thousands of collectors just like you, discovering the rarest coins, the wildest errors, and the most unbelievable values every week.